I was trying to be really slick and be like a professional producer and be like, in 5, 4.
Yeah, it started at like 3. Yeah,
yeah,
you fucked up. Oh shit! Oh fuck! All right, restart.
But no, I was totally trying to be professional, but StreamYard doesn't work that way. It doesn't really work on a timetable. It just starts. We really wanted to start this episode and really put an emphasis on justice, but instead it's just us. Nobody else is here. Kennedy is not here. I think they're in transit and desperately trying to get back on time. Rachel's not here. What if, Andrea, you had gotten to the show and it had just been you?
Well, I'm glad that for today's episode, I get to have the token black guy on the podcast. I appreciate that.
Really, if anything, you're the token.
That is true. You're a straight cis male. Oh,
That's
absolutely
right.
Disgusting.
That's right. But we've got a lot to talk about. Luckily, so we don't need Kennedy Cooper. You like whatever. It's fine. Yeah. Screw him. We've got just a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk about this Kenosha deal. A guy gets up and he's breaking up a domestic incident, and the police try to retain him after the incident, and for reasons that I think are pretty understandable. He doesn't want to interact with the cops. He starts to leave. The cops may or may not have tased him, and he may or may not have shrugged off the tasing like the Incredible Hulk, and then went to his car while the cops were like, "No, don't go into your car." And then they shot him like 7 times at point
blank. Like the gun was like on his back as he bizarre.
So that's like half of what we want to talk about.
And then also the cops were not wearing body cameras because we live in a country that functions
really poorly.
Yes.
If it functions at all. And also,
okay, but who are you gonna call? Who are you gonna call when somebody shows up at your house and they've got a flamethrower and they got a Bane mask on and they're at your door and they're like, "I'm gonna burn down your house." Who are you gonna call, Brandon? Who are you gonna?
We're gonna actually talk about that because, like, I'm really more interested in the storytelling that's emerged. Like, because whenever somebody gets shot, there's always got to be a counter narrative.
Yeah. I just want to interject here. One of my family members used to deliver pizzas in this neighborhood, and one time they delivered pizza to someone who's like just down the street from us, and they had a grenade launcher. Just throwing that out there.
Who are you gonna call when the guy with the grenade launcher is delivering your pizza? Huh? Liberals.
And also, Kennedy, have you ever seen that meme where they say when you're dunking on a Democrat and the Republicans start jumping in?
Yes.
Samuel Jackson.
Screenshot from
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Yes.
So this has been, we've started our YouTube era.
There's a mosquito in my room, just for reference.
Well, the camera can't pick up the mosquito, so just let the mosquito just take what they want.
My skin can? Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
But yeah, so we just want to, we started our YouTube era. And so all of our YouTube comments were like, Joe Biden's the real racist. MAGA 2020. And by the way, and that's fine. All views matter. I love saying that. I say that all the time. So and
when we say all views, we don't mean political views. We don't mean opinions.
No, we don't mean.
We are anti-free speech.
We mean viewers. We mean viewers.
We mean like literally.
We should say all clicks matter. Is what we should.
All clicks matter.
Except not to be confused with cliques, as in like high school cliques, or like cults potentially that are surrounding a presidential candidate of some sort.
One YouTube, and we're gonna get to the point. Promise. One YouTuber asked, "What is this? This is an Antifa podcast. This is where Antifa coordinates and gets marching orders. So they really, listen to us. Soros gives us the money. We give the marching orders, and then the troops, they hit the streets to destroy the carceral state. It's pretty rad.
You ready?
We just want to say and mention that we're gonna be talking about Trump's history, Trump's policies, Trump's statements.
So if we're gonna talk about the Kenosha thing, and this relates actually somewhat to this comment, I want to talk about like something. I'm gonna just come up with a name for it right now. I'm gonna call it next detail syndrome, or one more detail syndrome, which is a syndrome that people have whenever the cops shoot someone, or like whenever like a white supremacist like does a shooting or something like that, like where you have to like, no matter how I could give you like the longest version of this story with just horrific details, and you would still be like, but wait, there's one more detail that might exonerate
There's
the people
always,
who obviously look bad.
yeah, there's always some mitigating factor. And apparently, Kelly believes that you should just be summarily executed because other people will get mad when this happens. That's ridiculous. That's not an actual view. That's like apologia for violence, Kelly. Get a grip.
I would also like to
Also-
say that's just something a dullard would say.
Like, stuff getting burned down is such a complicated topic. If you're not looking into this in terms of like every possible angle of like how this could be justified, or also why this might be getting done for reasons that have nothing to do with the protests, or all kinds of different things. Like, come on, like, don't be like, oh, the protesters who are mad about this guy being murdered by the police are the root cause of this problem that no, come on, be real.
I just want to add, do you guys know that the Civil Rights Act was passed during a riot?
That's correct.
And if you didn't know, it's the second largest civil rights, but maybe the most property damage. It's the second largest civil rights protest to the one this year. So I want to say, like, yeah,
So the problem is you're equivocating, and the thing is, it's like there's too much of that right now. You got to understand, Kelly. Like, we're not just trying to be shitty to you, and I'm sorry if it comes off that way, but this is a really common problem that we're seeing right now with the response to this stuff, where people are looking at these things and they're saying, yes, I agree that there are problems with the police, but what about these other problems? These other problems don't compare, okay? And they do not compare. I just want to be clear. And when you try to draw a comparison of like, oh, some business is getting burned down, is the same as like hundreds and thousands of people losing their lives like unnecessarily to the cops, like it's not a comparison. Like, burn down my house and I still live and I go on to another day, but someone shoots me and my life ends. Well, do people not get that there's not like a save point? Like,
let's stop. Wait, everybody, step back for a moment, because like, okay, so rioting, Martin Luther King said, not a productive action. Although, again, I want to stress the Civil Rights Act was passed during a riot. And that is the most that the system has done, like, in terms of like basic voting rights since then, was in the midst of a riot. But I want to say that when we talk about like, I prefer keeping the main subject. So like, if we want to talk about like what should be done about the people that are rioting, well, the first thing that should probably be done is stopping the incidents that are leading to the riots. And I would believe that the riots would just like stop and those things wouldn't be happening. So while like it's true that like mom and pop shops looted, destroyed, this is awful. We hope that they financially recover. But we're looking for like things that are causing change besides monetary damage. And we've had the largest civil rights protest in American history, and nothing is happening. And if anything, the situation is getting worse. That's not rad either.
I just want to say the cops are on administrative leave, as far as I understand. Like, they were not charged, they were not fired. They're getting paid leave. Right. They're getting a paid vacation. So they almost kill someone and then get to spend some time with their family playing Crash Bandicoot or something.
And unfortunately, Kelly,
listen, it's okay. I want to say we're all trained by the mainstream media to do this. This is like one of the things that we like to talk about on this show. We are trained by the mainstream media to do this one more detailing stuff that I'm talking about, where we're like, but what about the other side? And it's always to try to balance the scales back towards the people that are supposed to be in power traditionally, because we're all trained to do that. We all do it. It's okay. Like, but we all also have to like recognize when we're doing it and realize that like we can't be bringing equivalencies of like, oh, we need to talk about this. No, we should only be talking about the police violence. We shouldn't be talking about the stuff getting burned down at all, really.
I want to actually talk a little bit about that, because I really just strongly believe the shooting is the main thing. And part of why we're using that as a segue is because like the day after there's a counter spin, and none of this counter spin has actually been backed by details or video accounts. So, but to kind of add on to this thing of there's always like one extra thing. So he had a knife and he was out waving the knife at people, and he broke the thing up with his knife, and then he told the cops that he had a gun and he's gonna go get the gun. And by the way, anybody who's like lived in any city, nobody's like, cops, I have a gun, I'm gonna go get it, I'm in imminent danger right now. And unfortunately, we're going to have a whole new level of detail about this since the guy survived, because the cops now they have to either charge this person who they shot up and then like present evidence, or like the facts will come out and we'll get his account, and that'll be interesting. But anyway, so they're like, oh, did he have a knife? Did he have an open warrant? Did he have this or that? And I think it's important to point out, at what point does this person like get killed? Like, you know, if somebody has a gun and they bring out the gun and they wave the gun at the cop, then like, is it a justified shooting? Yeah, probably. If somebody says they have a gun and they reach for the gun, is that a justified shooting? Maybe. What if somebody
right?
What if somebody says that they're going to get a gun? Is that a justified shooting? What if you think that a person might be going to get a gun? Like, we've gone from a culture of like a self-defense shooting to now we're shooting in self-defense of a hypothetical situation. And I think that's a very large jump to someone might be going to a place where they might get a weapon, where they might pose a threat. That is way too much. We've reached a point now where basically any action can be justified.
I want to give a hot take. I think if you're waving a gun at a cop, they can't shoot you.
That's
legit. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's more discussion that can be had about that, because, you know, the presence, we have a Second Amendment, and obviously we do have people who are brandishing. Like, we've had armed protests in Michigan where you walk into the governor's mansion with your AK, and certainly those people do not get shot.
Right, and
we certainly had white people that do brandishing in front of police officers, and they don't get shot up. It's like, oh well, we've got to really put out a warrant for that guy after they leave alive.
My take gets hotter though, because really, I think even if you're being shot at as a cop, you do not have the justification to just like kill people in response to that.
I'm not
100%. You have to, in my opinion, like, if the police are going to do the job that they're supposed to do societally, they have to be like trained, willing, and like able to try to de-escalate literally every situation, even the ones that seem past the point of de-escalation.
What?
And like,
can I call? Well, let's say I'm a cop and you're shooting at me, and under the Kennedy model, can I call someone else? Can I call a SWAT team? Can I call someone else who has what is the protocol? Jason, that's not like they tased him 4 times. That's not verified yet. Like, yeah, I've seen the story of they tased him and he was like, I'm immune to tasers. And he got up.
That's such bullshit. That is the same kind of skull measuring horse shit that has people saying black people feel less pain. No, they don't, you dumbass.
Yeah, that does not seem legit. Unless it turns out that the guy was like high on PCP and was just like, I feel
with his family.
Just want to
with his children in the car while driving on PCP.
Yes.
If all of this is true, I guess we'll never know because the cops weren't wearing body cams. So
yeah,
oops, maybe you should have done that.
It seems unlikely that he was tased 4 times and got up and shook it off. Anything's possible. It's a very strange year in a very strange world. But the idea that he was with his kids in the car and was on some kind of drug and hopped up and was able to like shake off a taser and then got up and was like,
4 times.
I'm gonna get up and shoot you guys now that you've tased me. Started walking to the car.
What is the mathematical equation? Is that like 1 point, like, is that like 0.8 gunshots per failed tase? Like,
And
what is
if-
the?
And if reaching into the car justifies deadly force, then like, why aren't we attempting to stop the guy from getting to the car if there's like 5 of us? And
Yeah.
one,
Yeah, like they're all just pointing the gun instead of, I don't know, like tackling him.
Yeah.
it seemed it like, you know, I'm a semi-reasonable person. If it turns out that this person, and part of what we're talking about is counterspin, and the counterspin is all rumors, and conservatives will put any kind of evil rumor over the verified facts of what's happened. So if it turns out that the mitigating details are he was the cause of the domestic incident, and he had a knife, and he was tased and shook it off, and he was going to the thing to get his gun, and there was a previous report that he had the gun. Like, unfortunately, there's so much counterspin from they didn't coordinate
One more detail.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't. There hasn't been a coordination of what the justification is. So there's 5 different story sources giving 5 different reasons why this person deserved to get shot. And it seems like
and all of them are counter to the video where there's 3 cops doing nothing while the guy walks around the car. Like that's just
slowly.
I'm sorry.
Calmly.
Like no.
So I want to draw people's attention not just to these like sort of spins and counter spins, but to the big pattern of the counter spins and spins. Like, it is the same conversation every time. And I want to challenge y'all to ask, like, why is it that specifically when it's Black people, they start asking questions about criminality, or they start asking, like, what did they do to deserve it? You know, because we get this a lot. And it's not just with like issues of race, it's issues of, you know, oppression and marginalization. People love to ask the hard questions of the people being marginalized and not of the people who are actually doing the violence.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that it's really important to sort of just pay attention to like who is saying what, generally speaking, and what do these, you know, outlets always say in situations like this? And do you really think that's a coincidence?
These are a very convenient set of facts.
Right, exactly.
This is what I'm getting at when I talk about like how justice has to point back towards the people who are quote unquote supposed to be in power traditionally. And it's like, I think that the metaphor of a justice as a scale sticks in a lot of people's minds, thanks to like, you know, that being branded in all of our courtrooms and stuff. And so people want to like sort of make sure that all of the items are on each side of the scale or something, but they only do it again when it's like somebody that we need to justify, you know, hating, like the cops or white people or rich people or things like that, right? Or straight people. Like,
I want to go into this because I cover police brutality a lot on my YouTube channel, and I like when white.
Andrew, you have a YouTube channel?
I know people are watching it right now.
Tell us about it.
I do a show called Above It All because I am better than everyone else and they're all dumb. And so I cover a lot of videos and a lot of instances of white people getting shot, Asian people getting shot, like teenagers getting shot, Black people getting shot, like dogs getting shot, you know? And every time, like, I notice, because I've got a lot of the same viewers that like are trolls and will try to like justify everything. Like the way people speak about a white person getting shot is way different than the way people speak about a Black person getting shot. And and again, it's the same people that are commenting on a lot of these videos. So it's always like, they're always trying to figure, like, it's all lives matter when a Black person gets shot. And then when a white guy gets shot, it's blue lives matter. You shouldn't have had a gun. And then when they realize, oh, wait, it's okay to have a gun, it's Second Amendment. Oh, then the Second Amendment doesn't matter. And then it's all like this weird, like, it's just, ignore them. They're just a waste of time for the most part. Like, and they will always come up with some fan fiction to like justify their psychopathy.
There's always this talk of feeling threatened, and like that again being like this is like feeling threatened is now a protected status in America. It's a political identity. It's a political identity. Threatened. Most conservatives have adopted it, it seems. And it seems to justify just about anything. I definitely, when I end up in debates with people about this stuff, this is a phrase that I hear a lot, is feeling threatened.
If you feel threatened, get a different job.
it's so interesting. It's not just the cops though; it's also like just white people who shoot black people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
But it's so interesting because this feeling of threat. This is another thing that only seems to go one way. And like there was that story of like the bar owner who like came out armed during a protest because someone broke his window, and then there's like a little bit of like a physical scuffle, and people are shoving each other, and then he kills a guy with his gun, who happens to be black. And the justification that I heard from so many people is the bar owner felt threatened.
There's nothing that's better clickbait for Republicans than a small business owner like executing
defending his property.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh God, they love it. God, they love it.
Yeah.
Was
Well,
it
I think
black on black
this sort
crime
of
by chance?
reveals an essential rot behind Republicans and honestly a lot of Democrats, really. Anybody who's, invested in white supremacy is, oh my God, I completely lost it. It's gone. Health.
They're all bad.
No.
It's
What
all
are we talking
bad
about?
all the time.
Biblical list?
Let me just throw this anecdote out. So literally one of the people that I was debating with about this exact story that I'm talking about said, it's justified for the owner to shoot this guy because crime escalates. And so the property crime like justified it essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the dude who escalated the crime was the white business owner. What are you talking about? That's who was yes, it escalated. It escalated when a dude came outside with a gun and started showing it to everyone and like threatening everyone with it. Like he was literally lifting up his shirt like, I got a gun. That's who escalated it. What the fuck are you people talking? What are you people on? Like, what are white people smoking? Like,
agreed.
I
Not
wish I
enough,
knew.
actually. I think is that we're not
clip
smoking.
me saying that.
Yeah,
Clip me saying that and get me canceled, please.
Yeah. No, the thing I was trying to say earlier that is still completely relevant is that, this central rot to liberalism generally and the people who are invested in white supremacy, where property is intrinsically more valuable than human lives. That like controlling property is more important than other people's lives, full stop. And it's like, if you don't agree with that basic notion, like the rest of it falls apart, but they do. And they're comfortable with that. And like, I don't think there's a way to get people who have that attitude to really empathize with people who are harmed by that attitude.
Yeah. There are protests that are happening across the country in response to this. And I think these protests are going to be rougher than the protests that we've had in the past because people are tired of marching. I was tired of marching about a week after George Floyd. I was super tired of protesting about a week after Rayshard Brooks. People are tired of marching, especially if you're marching for 90 days. It's not just the largest civil rights protest in national history. It's also the longest civil rights protest in national history. And so far, from these overwhelmingly peaceful protests, the results from the lawmakers have been like, we're giving you nothing. We're doing nothing. You're getting nothing. Forget
like
about it.
two cities may have slightly altered the police budgets, maybe, but that hasn't really been in effect yet. But
and by the way, those are like major victories. Like
exactly.
Well, but also they're majorly contested victories. Like Minneapolis, like their city council was like, they were good enough to, say, hey, we're gonna go with the people here, and if the people want a different solution, let's do it. But then some other people in the government were like, no, we're just going to block that. Keep funding the cops. Go fuck yourself. So now it's turned into an internal legal battle of who has the power in their state. And we all know how this shit drags out and goes. We just talked to Nancy Larson on our podcast. Go check that out, by the way. That just came out today. Like, Ohio politics is the hotbed of this kind of nonsense where the people speak. Some of the politicians try to enact that. And then like the behind the scenes stuff starts getting pulled and it all goes wrong. And that's what we're like going to be looking at with some of this stuff for sure.
And they just want to bank on people forgetting. It's like, oh yeah, okay, you did it, you won, and then it's over. And then like 6 months later, it's back on.
I gotta tell you that in the face of like this mass amount of police violence, whether it's Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Tamir Rice, Philando Castile, Eric Garner, Walker Scott, a white guy in Portland who got punched in the face. Honestly, I would say that the national response to this overflow of violence, not just this year, but over many years, has not just been peaceful. It's been historically peaceful. A guy getting punched. So what? Like,
I just want to say these are the same people who think that the death rate from coronavirus is like 0.1%, yet they focus on the violent anarchists when that's like much smaller of a percentage of the overall protests in the country.
How do you feel about How do you feel about the 170,000 people who died of coronavirus? Since we're worried about like a guy got beat up on a World Star hip hop video in Portland. Like what's the sense of scale?
Let me just say something. Listen. First of all, if you are a white person and one of your family members gets killed by the cops, and it totally happens. In fact, if you're a white person, you should be increasingly concerned about this. This has been an increasingly raising cause of death for young white people as well. And a lot of people kind of ignore that and think, oh, well, it's not something that really happens to me. It's the 6th most likely way to die if you're under 35 and white. So it's like still pretty fucking high on the list. Okay. So first of all, it does happen. However, what tends to happen when a white person gets shot by the cops a lot of the time is that justice actually gets served, and it gets served kind of quietly, and we don't have a big national story about it because it's a completely different fucking story. Now, this doesn't always happen. To be clear, a lot of times it still goes. So a lot of times it still gets thrown in the bin. And let me tell you something else. If you're a white person, you have a family member that gets killed by the cops, and you go to a BLM group and you say, hey, I want to join this protest because I relate to the struggle. Those people aren't going to be like, wow, get the fuck out of here. There's this perception that some of y'all conservatives have when you talk about this stuff. Like, if you showed up actually caring about police brutality, like that it's not going to be received just because like the particular story that you care about is your white cousin. Like, no, everyone's just going to be like, damn, that sucks. Yeah, police brutality is terrible. Come march with us. Like, what the fuck do y'all think?
Like my mom was beaten by cops when I got swatted. That's the story I tell a lot because these people go like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, cops, like a SWAT team literally raided my house and beat the shit out of me and my mom. Like, okay, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? And then you get these same dullards that are like this comment here. Oh, 5-year-old was killed. 5-year-olds get killed. It's awful. It's heinous. It's disgusting. But was the 5-year-old killed by someone who was a state-sanctioned protector? Was he killed by someone who gets a paycheck from the government? Or was he killed by some random dude? Also, did that random dude get sent to prison immediately? Did that random dude get justice immediately? Like, these cops are on administrative leave. They get a paid vacation for shooting someone with the intent to kill, and you're gonna, oh, but a 5-year-old was killed. Okay, did the guy who killed the 5-year-old get a paid vacation, or is that guy in a jail cell? Think about it. Think before you speak. But again, these motherfuckers, they don't think. They don't have an internal monologue. They just watch the I'm sorry, I'm triggered.
No, continue.
They watch the latest Charlie Kirk podcast, the Ben Shapiro episode, and they get their talking points, and they're just like a computer program. Just, I see Black Lives Matter. What about the white kid? Like, they're just robots, dude. They're dullards.
Here's the best part. They're on the subject of programming. Here's the weak, strong enemy we were talking about yesterday.
Oh no, they're gonna fight me.
2 minutes ago, you're like, a white guy was punched in Portland.
But I'll kill you.
And
I'm gonna come to your house and beat
you guys. Don't look tough.
Yeah,
come on.
But I wanna wait. I want everybody to stop because I want to be the person that moderates the comments for this, because there's a flow. It's starting to really pick up too. There are certain things that, because I want to both stay on track and also address some of the most important comments. So let's kind of dig into that. Let's kind of dig into this. Number one, like a black.
By a black.
Can we talk about how Republicans will literally talk about how, Democrats are the real racists, but like also killed by a black. Like, anybody who reads the history, like, all you have to do is literally read a book on the history of civil rights. You'll be like, oh, these are the same people who were militantly opposed to civil rights, used the same tactics and arguments that they used in the 60s that they use today. The last thing we'll say before and this is a great segue to our other topic, what are you guys going to do when President Trump wins in November.
Pretty much the same
if
shit.
Trump wins, we're going to do the same shit that we're doing now. If
Trump
Biden
is president right now.
Trump is president now. What do we mean?
We're
what?
leftists. We're not
It's so
Democrats.
dumb.
We don't
It's
care
so
about the
dumb.
team sport.
So
Like,
dumb.
you know, if
You're here for like Team Trump, but we're here for like it's bad when people are like beaten to death by cops. Like, that's the team that we are on. So before we talk about like how people kind of
real quick as another segue, reminder, all of these same people would have a completely different reaction if Obama was still president. Like when Obama or something bad happened under Obama, all they did was god dang Obongo doing it again. And now when Trump is president, it's like, well, he's the president, what do you expect? He's doing all this stuff.
He's being presidential.
It's like like hello? Like the more question is, what will y'all do if Biden's reelected? Because now you've sunken yourselves into the mud in the quicksand of this Blue Lives Matter thing. If a blue life, like whatever the hell that means, by the way, like shoots a white person under Biden's administration, you are definitely going to have the same fucking meltdown that we're having. Except it's not going to be consistent.
Here's the thing. Yeah, it won't be consistent because then they'll be like the FBI, the deep state, fuck the feds. And we know this because we know what they were like when Clinton was president and they were doing Ruby Ridge, or when Obama was president and they were shooting stuff up. We know what conservatives do when not even leftists, but like Democrats are in power, which is they become domestic terrorists and become radicalized and start shooting up churches and shit. That's generally what we're talking about.
It didn't even stop when Trump took power. We've had tons of white nationalist shootings. Like, what's going to happen?
It doesn't even continue to get worse.
In November, there's going to be white nationalist shootings as long as y'all knuckleheads be like this and be fucking gobbling up fascist drivel and like spouting it with no sense in your head.
They have no brains. They're just robots. They're like drones. It's so frustrating.
I want to give Andrea the floor here before we segue into like conservative racism, apologia, Democrats are the real racists. We'll talk about all that. Can we talk about, like, I know that you've talked about this on your channel extensively. Can you talk about you getting swatted?
Yeah, sure. I came out as trans in 2017, and I lost all of my followers. Nobody liked me because they thought I was an icky tranny. And then, as a result, people like started circulating these like, oh, look at this person. They went trans for attention, which, you know, that makes no sense. If I was getting 200 viewers on average, and then now I'm getting like 15, wow, the attention was gotten. Holy moly. And then a bunch of neo-Nazis started like, you know, sharing my info on places like Kiwi Farms, 8chan, so forth. And that resulted in me getting added to some Atomwaffen list.
Cool. Real cool shit.
Oh, of course, Andrea's internet breaks in the middle of her big story.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, you're back.
Am I back?
Let's go.
Where was I? Okay, I was added to some Atomwaffen list, which is like a neo-Nazi organization. And then they swatted me. And the SWAT team was like, oh, you got to get on the ground and then walk backwards. Look, I just want to, there's a comment here that's dumb as shit. Okay. Jacob Blake is above the law. He does not need to listen.
Andrea, wait. I want you to finish your swatting story.
I am. Because
we got to do.
The SWAT team told me to get on the ground and then walk backwards. I guess I'm above the law because I didn't follow. I got on the ground and they told me to walk backwards, but I couldn't. So I'm above the law. Think before you fucking speak, you idiot. Okay? So my mom was disabled, right? She was elderly and disabled. The cop said, we are going to shoot you if you don't get on the ground. She couldn't get on the ground. Her leg didn't work. So the cops bum rushed her, knocked her onto the ground, and like broke her shoulders trying to like put her in handcuffs for no reason, by the way. Like I was just playing Spyro on a streaming website in front of 10 viewers. Okay, so it's like, there's no reason this is happening. I followed the instructions, right? My mother was trying to follow the instructions, and they still beat the shit out of us. And we're white. Like, maybe if we were black, we would be dead. Maybe I would just be like a ghost right now and not on this podcast, right? But the thing is, these people have never been in this situation where they've ever had any sort of conflict like this, because they don't realize there's so many videos of white people, black people, kids, people getting shot and killed because, oh, get on the ground, walk backwards. You need to walk in a straight line. Are you drunk? Like, and they give you these conflicting orders for no reason. And again, oh, you're above the law. Like, bitch, motherfucker. Like, if you want to say, like, okay, cop, I don't respect you, is that a death sentence? Is there a law somewhere? Can you point, y'all can't, law and order, law and order. Like, where's the law that says if you disrespect a cop, that's a death sentence? Do I see that law
That's
anywhere?
fascism. That's
I don't know what that
fascism.
law is. If you want to point to the code in the like U.S. Constitution or some law book that says if you are mildly disrespectful in any way, including body language, of a police officer, you immediately get sentenced to death without a jury. Is that a law? I would love to see that law. Where's that order? Thank you very much. I yield my time.
I want to highlight a comment that I think is like important to like the way that we address these problems. So your fix is what? You just admitted that you were a fight for nothing. Green Party?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, if you like the Green Party, go for the Green Party. That's fine. I think if you live in a swing state, probably you should vote. Probably if you're in a swing state, you should vote for Joe Biden. Otherwise, vote for whoever the fuck you want. Don't vote. I don't care.
This isn't about voting.
Literally, like, I don't care. Yeah, that's things. I don't care what you do on November 4th. I want to know what your plan is for November 5th, because that day is going to happen no matter who wins. And it's going to be ugly no matter who wins. So what are you going to be doing? How are you actually going to be helping your community? That's the only question I care about right now.
I'm going to be on YouTube trolling police brutality victims and saying Blue Lives Matter because I am very intelligent and I care about the issues.
I'm going to be inventing reasons to say the N-word and calling women bitches on YouTube comments. Like, that's it. That's your plan.
All right. Calm down. So what I wanted to say is that I encourage you to look back through the archive of our channel. We talk a lot about mutual aid and organizing. We are not confused about what we're doing or what we fight for. And I think that a lot of y'all out there in the comments probably are, not all of you necessarily, but some of you clearly. And so, you know, like, just go back through our archive and watch some of this, because like we talk about this all the time. Mutual aid and like community organizing is like much realer than who you vote for president, period.
Okay. Let's move on. Because one of the things that I want to talk about, yesterday we talked about Richard Spencer. Yes. And a lot of our comments were like, well, this really goes to show that Richard Spencer is a Nazi and supports Biden. Biden's a Nazi. Trump is the resistance. Trump is a crusader for anti-racism, and Democrats are the real racists. So let's talk about that. Rachel, we wanted to talk about this before. We were talking about this right before you got here.
Real quick, out of the gate.
Like,
yes, Democrats are racist.
Words can mean whatever they mean if you just say they mean different things. Like, you know, you can just say up is down and down is up, and, you know, no one's gonna, like, you can't prove that there's an essential reason words are named anything. Like, language is arbitrary, but I'm pretty sure most people are gonna hear what you're saying and think that you're an absolute moron. And like, if that's fine with you, that's fine with you. Like, you can make words mean whatever you want, but the majority of people are going to listen to you say those words and think less of you as a person.
Why is it that the people who are affected by racism aren't voting Republican?
Because the Republicans openly want them dead instead of covertly wanting them dead. That's pretty easy. That's an obvious answer.
Remember when Trump was bragging? It's like, we might get 6% of the black votes. Like,
wow,
amazing, you tremendous. Believe me, it's
If the Republicans are not a racist party, then how come minorities who are from different countries have to anglicize their names almost universally in order to achieve elected office as Republicans? Like, why is Piyush Jindal running as Bobby?
Like, why? Is the point that we're all just really racist in this country? Because, yes. Is that like a question?
Why is Shuchita Haley running as Nikki?
Yeah, because people are racist.
Because
some people engage with that pragmatically.
I mean, that's the whole thing here, is that like the Republicans want to claim that they're less racist than the Democrats, but it's just on what basis exactly?
Why are all the black Republicans retiring is another question.
That's
weird.
Why is Michael Scott so condemning of Trump given that he's like Michael Steele. I don't know why. I was thinking of Tim Scott and Michael Steele, and they kind of blend into one person for me.
You're allowed to say that.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's right. I can get. I love that I can get on here and get away with anything. Why? If Trump is not racist, why are people who are Black conservatives like Michael Steele and Colin Powell, who have been loyal Republicans for years, so upset? Are they upset that the Republican Party under Trump is less racist than it used to be under Donald Trump?
Counterpoint: Herman Cain died for Donald Trump. He sacrificed himself to absolve all the racist sins.
That's rad. We love her. Really, all of this is really a stealth mission. We're starting the Cain Gang 2.0. And we're gonna, as soon as we get off the stream, we call up the Cain Gang and we're like, stage 1 of infiltration has begun.
Herman Cain in the membrane.
Hear me out. These people, 150% certainty these people can be bought, right? So like we buy Herman Cain's account. And then we just very, very slowly frog and a pot it to being like communist. And they won't even realize it's happening.
We don't have enough money to buy his account, though.
We will.
No, I mean, we would have to crowdsource
fund me.
The more that we say patreon.com/notsafe during our streams, the faster that we get the money, or Soros will just send us
There
the
is
money, one or the other.
There will be a meeting point. It's like the value of his account's going to go down over time. The
Sure.
value of our show is going to go up. They're going to whoop.
And
Eventually we'll have it.
I really don't believe that we should do a slow transition. I just think that we should just pin a comment just saying, this account is good now. And then from then on, it's Antifa and Stalin and Black Lives Matter and Cardi B and what else triggers Garfield the cat and Andrea, you're our triggering specialist.
Oh yeah.
What would trigger the right the most to be posted on the Cain Gang account?
I think just a simple statement of Black Lives Matter would probably do the trick.
We'll Photoshop Herman Cain behind a Black Lives Matter logo.
There you go.
And
the famous photo of him at the Trump rally, except change the signs to Black Lives Matter.
We Photoshop Herman Cain opening his fridge, and there's just soy milk.
Reminder: I drink soy milk every single day, and so can you.
Damn.
Wow.
And
Triggered.
we'll also
The right's going to be so triggered when they watch this.
We'll also quote tweet like every tweet from the cast of Chapo Trap House with a gif of Herman Cain smiling and nodding and just going.
So I just want to say, I think the entire idea that there is a debate about whether Donald Trump is racist or not is wildly just
ridiculous.
It's something that could only exist in our modern neoliberal media culture, to be honest. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. If you ever want the best example of how badly this culture has failed, and this is something that I feel like regardless of your political affiliation, you ought to be able to agree on. Just go look at Erdogan in Turkey. Erdogan has completely taken advantage of the fact that if you just really sincerely say something, that's okay. That's the neoliberal media mindset, is that if you're sincere, you can say anything, right? As long as you're just there being very earnest and thoughtful and sincere, then I can advocate for genocide or whatever, and it's fine. And so Erdogan just gets in the news, and he just whenever Turkey has obviously done something wrong, and it's very obvious, and it's like you just came home and your dog has eaten the couch, and it's very obvious that your dog has eaten the couch, and you're just like, dog, did you eat the couch? And the dog's like, that's Turkey. And Turkey's you're like, Turkey, did you bomb some stuff in Syria that you weren't supposed to bomb, that you agreed that you wouldn't bomb? And Turkey's just like, nah. And because they just give it completely straight face with total sincerity, then everyone has to be like, well, we can't just call him a liar, so we have to. And that's what's going on with Trump. Is we can't just call him a racist, because you have to be able to prove that. It's you have to have empirical evidence that someone.
Well, all right. Well, let's step back. let's step back for a moment and let's just talk about Donald Trump and is Donald Trump pro-race? And one of the problems, and so let's tackle this on two layers. So layer number one is conservatives think that pro-racist policies are good. Like anything that is built on equity is racism. So like the more punishing, like the more that you increase the racial wealth gap, the more, and like they're like, that's actually less racist. So if we were to say like African Americans were disproportionately left out of the Trump tax cut, they'd be like, well, good, they don't have money, so they don't need tax cuts. Or if we were to say, well, you know, there was a tax law that passed, Black people are 13% of the population and they got 5% of the tax cut, they'd be like, well, that's good. They don't have enough wealth, and that's on them. If we were to talk about like all of the like Obama, DOJ, really soft core community policing stuff about like building relationships between the police and the community, and that Trump like got into office and immediately rolled off these extremely soft, gentle proposals about like, let's have the, like, remember, this is, Obama is the beer summit guy. So like so like when Obama was like, let's get the cops to have beers with the community, and Trump was like, stop doing that. Then the conservatives would be like, they shouldn't be having beers. They should just be learning to obey the cops so they don't get shot. Or if we were to talk about halfway houses, and I know this because one of my uncles in a halfway house, and the funding got like slashed immediately under Trump. They're like, why do they need support for transitioning from prison back to be rehabilitated? They don't need that. They should just stay in prison forever. So if we were to like give a list of any kind of policy that is like designed to support, or even if it's business loans and shit like that, like even if it was, okay, so I understand that you have no desire on equity, but do you support any of these things that are like tax cuts for minority businesses where they have a Pell Grant and they're in a disadvantaged area and they raise $20,000 and have 5 employees? They're like, no, that shouldn't exist either. That's racist too. So even if it's pro-capitalism, okay, no policies of any kind, then we just have to talk about, well, is Trump nice to Black people? Since there's no policy that like meets your definition of not being racist. So if we were to say, you know, Donald Trump was like, Black guys handling my money is horrible, laziness is a trait in Blacks, and you know they're not good at counting money, then the argument has to retreat. Then it's like, well, you know, he's just saying it like it is. And you know, we're talking about Richard Spencer endorsing Biden. It's important to remember that Biden's team, and Biden didn't want to give this the dignity of addressing it himself, which is fair. Biden's team was like, we denounce you. Biden doesn't want your endorsement. Get fucked. Trump's has never vetoed an endorsement from the Klan. Can be added multiple times about David Duke's endorsement, and was like, boy, you know, I don't know what to say. David Duke, what a complicated person. I don't really know a lot about David Duke. I've never really done the reading on the Klan. I'd really have to look into whether David Duke is bad before I could get back to you on that. Whether it was Confederate monuments, again, these are things, we're lowering the bar to like the Democrat bar of lip service, because both of them have terrible policies. So now we're just operating the level of like, are you willing to offend people who are explicitly racist? The Confederate monuments, no. These monuments are our culture. They are our history. They are our heritage. And the Confederate monuments are as American as America. It seems strange that if you are truly against racism, that you would go to such incredible lengths to avoid pissing off racists.
Well, you know, I think that this is sort of a very play nice attitude that libs in particular have, you know, and it's an advantage that fascists also have, because fascists don't have a problem with racism, and libs do, but aren't willing to actually talk about what racism is, you know. And so I think that there are capacities in which this has made it harder to get libs to talk authentically about racism, because if you say somebody's being racist, they can't look at that in a dispassionate sense of like, yes, the system is racist. We are taught racism. We have to actively unlearn racism over many, many years. You know, they can't do that. They just hear racism is bad, therefore I am bad, therefore I must not be racist, therefore you must like be overreacting.
Is like a binary. It's like either you are racist and then
Right.
you're racist forever. You always have been. You always will be.
Right.
Or
Well,
you're not racist, therefore you're the most virtuous, amazing, beautiful person, and we all love you. It's like
yeah.
most people, especially white people, are racist, at least from birth. We are birthed into a racist system of governance. Now, does that mean we all go out there and call black people evil or whatever? No, but that means that a lot of white people are just weird about it. And
Yeah.
it's something you have to actively unlearn because we live in a racist society. Does that mean that every white person is automatically like a sinful, evil doer? No. It just means that we have to acknowledge where we are. We have to acknowledge the system of governance, and you have to work around it.
Yes, and also I would even go a step further than that and just say that like we have to just completely let go of this idea that a person's integrity and degree of racism are one and the same. Like these are two separate
Right.
things. You know, I know people who like if they could just wrap their minds around what racism was, would immediately flip. I'm very confident because there are people out there who are like racist and also never tell a lie and are there for their friends and are there for their community. And like they do things that are really, really destructive to marginalized groups, you know, like to gay people. But then like in their interpersonal lives, they're good to the people around them, you know? And so if so long as we hold on to this like very unhealthy, toxic idea that racism is like a deliberate act that you do because you are a bad person, it's never going to get solved. Like we have to be able to start authentically engaging with this for what it actually is.
There was a poll done real quick, and like I think it was like a 5 or 6 years ago or something, where it was like they polled white people, do you have a black friend? And then they took the white people that had a black friend and then asked them a bunch of like somewhat coded questions about how they feel about black people. And it was something like 60% of people that had white people that had a black friend like still were saying racist shit. And it's like, that's weird. That's strange, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not
well,
racist.
And like white people in particular don't have coping skills. Like we are not handed the same kinds of things to cope with that people of color and especially black people are handed. So like we're very soft. And we don't know how to handle criticism because we haven't been getting wildly irrational criticism for existing our entire lives, right? And it just, I think it makes us kind of weak and shitty babies. Sorry, I'm cursing and I'm not supposed to anymore.
You're allowed to say.
It makes us
I'll let it out, don't worry.
Yeah, it makes us like little whiny babies that nobody wants to deal with, and that's our fault. Like we need to get tough. We need to learn how to handle some fucking feedback. I'm done.
Yeah, it's what is that the Pelosi clap?
Yes.
That was wonderfully done.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful. It's really interesting when we talk about like the Trump thing, because it's hard to get conservatives to acknowledge anything as racist. Like the civil rights movement, they would be sometimes you'll get like a conservative to say like, oh man, the open hosing is racist. But then if you like talk about the details of it, then they'll come back to, well, you know, what's going on now is that people should really just obey the cops and they want to worry about the use of force. So if I say like, well, in the 60s, these people were told not to be in this area and they were going there anyway, isn't that not racist according to the view of policing that you have just explained to me that you want to exist right now? And it's just a stutter. It just throws them so much that they're like, I don't know. I guess the law was maybe bad. And I was like, well, who supported the laws? You know, who put these, were they conservative laws or liberal laws? Yeah. And it's just like more stuttering. And unfortunately, when we go to like leftward towards the libs, most of the interaction and engagement with racism is like characters in movies. So it's hard for people to understand. And I understand that the people that made the movies probably had good intentions and shit. But we're in a situation where people don't understand racism unless someone behaves like a character in a PG-13 movie about racism. Right. So like it's harder to make a movie about like, what is a racist institution? What is a racist law? Is slavery racist? Is it racist because someone cracked a whip and made you work? Or is it racist because of like the economic, you know, reasons that slavery was racist?
I just want
Right.
to interject here, and this is
Yeah,
our plan for
course.
November 4th. As you can see here, I've got racism on a piece of paper.
cool.
Incredible.
This is what we're going to do.
Vanguard moment.
We're going to make
Rad.
racism gone again, just like it was under the black guy.
Correct. That's rad. So all right, so let's not like stay in this zone for, although like we could easily do
Oh,
a whole
indefinitely.
extra episode just
Yeah.
on Donald Trump individually being racist, and that wouldn't even be us doing like Republican policy, Republican laws.
I'm sure we'll come back to this topic again because it has really triggered the conservatives in our comments.
We're gonna become the Donald Trump is a racist power hour.
Yeah,
That's
Can we
gonna
just
be
talk about how they're like flipping in the chat room because they think I was serious?
No, that you were serious.
I was serious,
You were
but
serious.
Look, if
reminder,
you weren't,
the
I
left
am.
can't meme and also take everything a leftist says extremely seriously. Satire doesn't exist.
We're
But also the
also
left can't meme.
we're also gonna do a now that we're transitioning into the YouTube era. I've
I
got a
love
lot.
transitioning.
Of course, because we've got our transitioning specialist to help us transition to YouTube. So we were going to do like the most that we could there. So
YouTube Brandon is trans.
absolutely. So with all of that kind of set in eggshell, what do we do November 4th? What do we do after November 4th?
That I do care about. I don't care about November 4th. I just don't anymore. No matter who wins, we're equally going to be mad. So
it's very Alien versus Predator.
what do you do November 4th? Hopefully not get evicted.
yeah.
Yo.
Like that's like fucking 40% of people facing like imminent eviction as a possibility is like so much more massive and like important and desperate of a situation than anything to do with the presidential vote. And y'all conservatives aren't even going to talk about that because like that type of violence
not real.
is completely acceptable to you. It's completely like,
well, it's
like,
romanticized.
yeah, it's romantic for
They deserved it.
conservatives.
Kids starving on the street should have had a better dad. Their dad lost their job from the pandemic.
One
Well, you
more
should have been
detail.
tougher.
I'm bringing
You
it back
should have
around.
You should have went to
Wait.
college. It's unbelievable.
No,
It's so
those kids should have found a guy and moved in with the guy and started dating him, and that's how you get all the way to climb the ladder of success.
You shouldn't have gone on that
Is
vacation.
you find a
6
nice
years ago.
libertarian pedophile with money?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
great.
That's the
wonderful.
conservative model.
That is the model.
Literally,
Fabulous.
libertarians want to have a free child market where you just give away children that you don't want. I mean, have y'all ever never heard of this before? Because like, if you go on r/libertarian,
I know.
you will see this shit every day.
Unfortunately, I don't think discussion of the libertarians fits our monetization policy.
We'll have to wait for the next
the
election.
post
We'll just
show.
cut this bit. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll talk about libertarians in the post show. And let's
Yeah,
down to
if
do
you
libertarian
want to
post
hear
show.
us talk about libertarians in the post show for 15-20 minutes, it'll be on patreon.com/notsafe. Just $1 gets you behind the door to see post shows. That's all it takes. And yeah,
easy peasy. We've got more. I also have like a viral video that I want to share that will bring joy to everyone's heart, and it's going to be very funny. And we'll talk a little bit about the mindset between the rampaging Karens. It'll be fun. So join
right.
it. It won't be all depressing. It'll be funny. So that's
Just
it.
80% depressing.
80%, only 80% depressing. And in a world that is 120% depressing, that is a whopping 40% discount on depression. So I love it. So everybody, thank you for watching. We'll get back to you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Is it over?
Yeah, it's over right
it's
now.
over.
Turn it off.